Have you ever seen a man try to stand when the world already decided he couldn't? I have. And I'll never forget the silence in that courtroom when Clarence Duval tried. It was a bitter Tuesday morning, the kind where the cold seems to creep under your skin. The air inside felt wrong, like someone had left the windows open and let the hope leak out. Clarence entered in his wheelchair, the soft squeak of the wheels cutting through the dull murmur of legal chatter, worn-out lawyers, and the smell of old paper and quiet disappointment. He wore the only suit he owned, sleeves drooping past his wrists, collar pressing against his neck. His daughter Talia walked beside him, carrying the stack of papers that proved he shouldn't even be there. But courtrooms like this don't always care for proof. He was charged with violating his probation, not for anything malicious, just for not updating his address after his building was sold. He had to move in a rush, to keep his kids safe, to make sure the rent didn't drown them. Who thinks of forms and systems when they're moving overnight with 2 children and nowhere to go? Judge Ella Marbury, cool and clipped in her delivery, never even looked up as she read from her screen. "Mr. Duval, do you understand the charge?" she asked. He nodded, calm, steady, proud, even as everything around him said he shouldn't. Proceed with sentencing," she said, just like that. No testimony, no room for context. Talia reached for his hand, gently squeezed. "Are you ready, Dad?" she asked. Clarence just nodded again. He always wanted to seem ready, especially for her. Then came the moment that changed everything. "Mr. Duval, please rise for your sentence." The words landed heavy. You could feel the air leave the room. Clarence's reply was quiet, but carried weight no one expected. "Your Honor, I haven't stood since Fallujah." The stillness that followed was not just silence, it was reverence. Most people don't know what that really means. It's not just about limbs, it's about waking up reaching for parts of yourself that are no longer there. It's about a world that never feels steady again. Clarence had lost both legs to a roadside bomb while rescuing civilians. The VA said he'd never walk again. Maybe that was true, but Clarence never stopped moving forward. He raised a daughter after losing his wife, coached local football, stayed active in his community, surviving with dignity, even when the system tried to strip it away. The judge stated coldly that protocol required standing unless there was a valid medical exemption. Talia rushed to present the doctor's letter, but the clerk shook her head. The file was missing. Lost in the maze of digital folders and forgotten systems, Clarence didn't argue, didn't plead. He just nodded, like he knew this would happen. Then, with slow, deliberate care, he reached for his cane. "You don't have to do this," Talia whispered, voice tight with worry. "Let me try," he said. And then, before that entire room of strangers, he did the impossible. Inch by inch, trembling with effort, jaw clenched in sheer will, he stood, just for a moment. But it was enough. No one made a sound, yet the energy in the room shifted. It was louder than applause. It was respect. Judge Marbury stood too, this time not out of duty but from something deeper. "You don't have to do this," she said softly. Clarence looked her in the eye. "I'm not doing it for you," he said. "I'm doing it for the men I lost, and for the part of me I refuse to let die." And in that moment, the judge wasn't just a judge anymore. She was a person, someone who had maybe lost, maybe loved a soldier, maybe carried grief of her own. Whatever it was, something in her changed. And everyone in that room, from clerks to defendants, knew they had just witnessed something far bigger than a violation. They'd witnessed a man rise. It was pain deeper than paperwork. And then came a twist no one saw coming. From the back of the courtroom, a man rose, tall, clean-shaven Marine Corps cap pulled low. "I served with him," he said, voice steady. "He saved my life in Fallujah. That man isn't a number. He's a hero." Clarence looked up, stunned. "Raymond!" 2 old friends, bound by the worst day of their lives, reunited by a system that nearly broke them both. Judge Marbury watched, listening, really listening, for the first time. When the room finally quieted, she turned to Clarence, her voice raw. "Your sentence is vacated, effective immediately. You're free to go." Talia burst into tears, wrapping her arms around her father. For a moment, The courtroom forgot its role. No one moved. No one packed up. They just sat with it. But before the moment faded, a surprise took root. Riina, an intern meant to observe, had sketched the scene. No faces, no names, just a man rising and a judge beside him. She posted it that night. By morning, it was everywhere. Veterans spoke up, strangers donated. The world, for once, wasn't chasing drama. It just wanted to remember what hope looked like. A week later, Clarence saw Judge Marbury in the hallway. No robes, no courtroom, just two people. "Yesterday, when you asked me to stand," he said, "I didn't feel insulted, I felt seen." The judge nodded, eyes wet. "You reminded me what justice is supposed to mean, not the law, but the people behind it. And that's the part no one expects. That one honest moment can ripple further than anyone imagines." Clarence went back to quiet living. Talia launched a fund for forgotten veterans. Judge Marbury began to change how she ran her court. And that sketch? It raised more money in a month than Clarence had ever earned in a year. You want to know how it ends? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe stories like this keep going, showing up whenever someone is told to sit down and chooses to stand instead. If this moved you, think about who you see in courtrooms, hospitals, or even just passing by. What does justice mean to you? When does law serve people? And when do people have to push back? Let's talk. Because one step at a time, that's how change begins.